Welcome back to Marvelous Videos. I'm Rylan, and today we will be exploring 15 hilariously dark and sinister villains of the Powerpuff Girls. Backstories explored in detail.
Trying to save the world, here they come just in time. The Powerpuff Girls.
Well, that was Christian Bale singing the Powerpuff Girls theme song, which clearly states that Craig McCracken's 1998 superhero animated television series, at the end of the day, had fans of all ages. Why else would the series be nominated for 6 Primetime Emmys and 9 Annie Awards? Of course, there was no stopping the show from winning 2 of those Emmys, as well as 2 Annie Awards. Full credits to the spectacular work of animation, the outstanding production design, along with the marvelous musical score on display.
Hey, you kids! Get out of my moat! It is not made to be played in!
McCracken's The Powerpuff Girls spanned across 6 seasons, generating 78 episodes featuring Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup, fighting against a rather dedicated rogues gallery. Ever since Professor Utonium created the perfect little girls with ultra superpowers, they knew that it was their responsibility to keep the city of Townsville safe from crime and the forces of evil. In today's video, we are going to talk about 15 of the most hilariously dark and sinister villains of the powerful trio, exploring each of the villains' backstories in detail. Mind you, the show might have been an animated series, but some of the villains that it boasted were genuinely quite terrifying.
Peace and Jerome, let's get this party started.
Before we go into today's analysis, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small step for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thanks. Now, on with the video.
Why, I did, of course.
It's him!
Right you are, girl.
Him. Meet the King of Darkness, and by far the most evil, strongest, and deranged enemy of the Powerpuff Girls. Him, standing for His Infernal Majesty, is an exceedingly powerful, flamboyant demon who has appeared primarily as the show's dominant antagonist. Boasting a rather androgynous appearance, this character is red in color. He has large lobster-like claws, pointed ears, hooked nose, a pair of lime green eyes with 3 long eyelashes on each eyelid, and let's not forget those black lips, often ending in a smile that is just as wide as the River Nile.
It is I who shall destroy the Powerpuff Girls, not you! So why not run along and have a banana?
But it is mainly his numerous satanic versions, where he is revealed in the most apocalyptic of situations, with heightened power and a gigantic size that makes his character look genuinely creepy. Boasting superpowers like invulnerability, size alteration, teleportation, shapeshifting, mind control, telekinesis, resurrection, dream manipulation, reality warping, weather control to the extent of spitting acid, shooting red lasers out of his eyes, and firing red energy blasts from his claws. Him has powers that are categorically spooky. In fact, his character is quite capable of scaring the hell out of every kid who watched the Powerpuff Girls back in the late 90s.
I'm sorry, but nobody does evil the way I do.
His first appearance, in the segment entitled Octi-Evil, where he is seen possessing Bubbles' favorite stuffed octopus toy, Octi, can easily be regarded as perhaps one of the scariest children's cartoons ever made. Taking advantage of Bubbles' gullible nature, him is shown orchestrating events that not only turned the girls against each other, but also drove them apart. Thank God it was only for a fleeting moment before things came back to normal.
They're fighting because of you, because you believe your toys can really talk.
The fact that the girls never really get to defeat this villain in battle, him just retreats and waits for the next opportunity to strike, makes his character quite a badass.
You and your poor helpless creatures won't be able to fight back.
In Tough Love, him, being disgusted about how people of Townsville treated the girls, ended up using one of his superpowers and literally turned the entire town against their favorite girls. Of course, the trio fought against him, but, like always, they couldn't defeat him as he vanished yet again in a puff of pink smoke, vowing to come back.
As you race through time, the whole world went to...
But it was in Speed Demon that the audience got to see his true form. We are stressing on the colossal, muscular, red-skinned demon, one with sharp, jagged teeth, glowering eyes, a bare torso revealing toned chest and abs, and let's not miss out on that demonic masculine growl. Conclusively, one of the most recurring villains to have appeared in the series, him is a threat, for sure as seen in Custody Battle, where he almost brought the sun to the earth just to prove his superiority to Mojo Jojo.
Children?
Hey, we ain't no babies. We're the Rowdyruff Boys.
The Rowdyruff Boys. Meet the male equivalents of the girls, the Rowdyruff Boys. But unlike the Powerpuff Girls, who are made of sugar, spice, and everything nice, these boys were created using snips and snails and a puppy dog tail.
Boomer. Butch. We're here to kick some butt. And since yours is the only one around, we're gonna start with you.
Brick, Boomer, and Butch are just as powerful as Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup. And to make things worse, there are times when they simply cannot be defeated by their counterparts. In their self-titled episode, it was Mojo Jojo who had created them during his stay in prison, with his own additions to the recipe, and voila, we have the tougher, manlier, and the eviler version of the girls. The first meeting between the boys and the girls leaves the latter broken, bruised, and beaten. When it comes to physical brawls, it goes without saying that the boys are way stronger and skillful. Plus, the killer instinct within them makes them go all out. Also, their personalities are boosted versions of each of the girls, so it would not be wrong to expect a deadlier take on every ability that the girls would normally possess.
Problem, good citizens. We were happy to. I got it. No, I did it.
Boasting the basic abilities of the girls, such as superhuman strength, speed, X-ray vision, flight, heat vision, and energy protection, the boys also have special powers, like producing hypersonic waves to knock the girls away, emitting thick toxic gas by farting, which ends up amplifying their speed to the extent of even temporarily blinding and even suffocating the girls. They can also generate an energy blast by forming a whirlpool of pure energy. Apart from all of these, the boys also possess extreme levels of stamina, something that effortlessly enables them to defeat the girls without showing any signs of fatigue. Then again, like every other superhero, they have their set of weaknesses as well, and to be honest, they are quite hilarious. They might possess superpowers, but they are still boys, and at the end of the day, they simply dread being kissed. This is precisely why they get defeated in the segment entitled The Rowdyruff Boys. Next comes the threat to their masculinity. They will automatically reduce in size every time their manliness gets threatened. Then comes individuality. Boys are easily defeated when they're separated. We are stressing on the scene where Boomer gets beaten up by the girls and ends up getting a black eye, messy hair, missing teeth, and even his clothes get ripped.
Says stop punching me in the face. You first, Boomer.
Do watch out for the Rowdyruff Boys, who are irrefutably considered as real threats to not only the Powerpuff Girls, but also the whole of Townsville.
Allow me to introduce myself, after which I will no longer be a stranger. I am Mojo Jojo.
Mojo Jojo. The character of Mojo Jojo is so much more than just being the series' main antagonist. Going back to his origins, it wouldn't be wrong to regard him as more like an estranged elder brother to the Powerpuff Girls. Someone who was, to some extent, responsible for the creation of the girls. Well, prior to becoming the notorious mad scientist, who only wanted to destroy the girls, but also conquer Townsville and eventually take over the world. He was also Professor Utonium's hyperactive lab assistant, one who always broke everything. While the professor was creating the girls, it was Jojo who had pushed the professor towards a container of the chemical X, not only causing it to break, but also to have it spill into the mixture. That resulted in an explosion, causing his DNA to mutate, turning his skin into green, and leading his brain and intelligence to enlarge so much that it actually grew out of his skull. This also gave him certain emotions like jealousy and inferiority. With his newfound intelligence, Jojo eventually ran away and became Mojo Jojo.
Crying out loud, no! I had no intention of committing any crimes today.
It's his intellect that makes him capable of crafting new weapons, gadgets, and technology. We are stressing on giant robots and colossal laser weapons. And let's not miss out on him being the creator of the Rowdyruff Boys. His character is shown doing whatever he wishes. He's more of a rule breaker and does not really care about what other people think of him.
Yes, definitely chemical hacks.
He absolutely despises the trio. He hates being surrounded by people and does not like to be troubled when he is in the middle of his experiments. He's also quite the master manipulator, and his plans for world domination are fit to be the mastermind's plan. Had it not been for his ego, he could have easily defeated the girls, but then again, he is smart enough to never really underestimate the girls, therefore making use of his gadgets and wicked plans to keep up with them.
Optimum efficiency.
Target locked.
Wait, where is Powerpuff Girl Bubbles?
Destructo Ray will fire.
Undeniably the most prominent villain to the Powerpuff Girls, he is an iconic character in the animated series, simply because of how silly and ridiculous he can actually be. When he is not committing crimes, he is usually quite friendly to citizens, and even strangers.
Excuse me, sir, but can you please direct me to the location of where I may locate some eggs?
There are even days when he chooses not to commit crimes, especially on rainy days. Or let's say that he just wants to take a break and read a newspaper. Surprisingly, he's even okay with the girls borrowing things from him, to the extent of also striking up a friendly banter with them when they are not fighting. Frankly speaking, all of this kind of makes it hard to take him seriously at times, and regard him as evil. But his hunt for domination over Townsville shows why he can never really be ignored, and why his threatening actions just cannot be taken lightly. Even with the girls always managing to defeat him, Mojo Jojo has his own ways of coming back for more.
Hey! Get off of my property, you ornery varmint!
Fuzzy Lumpkins. Say hello to this pink, huge, hillbilly bear-like monster who is the third oldest villain in the series. As far as villains are concerned, Fuzzy Lumpkins isn't always the one that will leave you with nightmares. But hey, do not underestimate him. His rage is immeasurable, and you wouldn't want to make him angry in the first place. With his super rage mode activated, he knows how to put up a real fight, and he hates, we repeat, he hates having people come to his property.
Some people like... Hey, you! Get off of my property! Now!
This beastly bumpkin will simply ambush or shoot anyone who trespasses. And if he turns red in color, that means he is absolutely furious, and he will stop only if he gets his property back. Speaking of his weapons, he's got quite a lot. Of course, there is his boomstick, which is basically an oversized shotgun. Next comes his banjo, that he addresses as Joe, and literally treats him like he would another living being. Wondering why this comes under the category of weapons? Well, Fuzzy likes to use it to play both music and as a fighting weapon.
Okay, Fuzzy, here you go.
For example, in the segment entitled Fuzzy Logic, he uses his banjo to fight against the girls in his shed. In Sweet and Sour, he was seen playing his banjo to literally torment people, and in a documentary, he was actually seen running out of his house with his banjo, smashing a cameraman. Lastly, it boils down to his rage mode, his most important weapon. This not only makes him extremely powerful and uncontrollable, but he even turns muscular, red, and unusually large. And like we mentioned before, you do not want to see that side of him. Believe us when we tell you that this supervillain here was also once selected for the mayor of Townsville. We're talking about the segment entitled Impeach Fuzz, where all he wanted was just to be left alone with his property. And by now, we all know how protective he is of that. Sedusa, making her first appearance in the segment entitled Mommy Fearest, and posing as Professor Utonium's new seemingly sweet and beautiful girlfriend, I'm a good lady, or in other words, she is just trying to say, I'm a good lady. The character of Sedusa actually made it to the list of the trio's arch nemesis.
Hey, what's your name?
Miss Good Lady. Miss I'm a Good Lady.
Within seconds, she not only made her way to the professor's heart, but also very quickly took on a role of a wicked stepmom by imposing unnecessarily strict rules such as no crime fighting, no using superpowers, no watching their favorite TV show, no nightlights, to the extent of even grounding the Powerpuff Girls.
Growing girls don't play with stupid dolls. Now, good night.
All of this so that she, as Sedusa, could go around committing crimes all over Townsville. This seductive supervillain is famous for using her feminine wiles, along with quick wit, to trick men into doing whatever she wants to do at the end of the day.
But.
No buts. You're grounded.
It goes without saying that her name and snake-like hair are inspired by the character of Medusa. Sedusa's captivating, irresistible skills are quite similar to the capabilities of a siren. In the segment titled Something's Amiss, her character, disguised as Miss Bellum, was seen seducing the mayor, kissing him to get an early day off.
You can take off the whole week.
This master disguise was not only able to fool the mayor, but even the girls. Also, when it comes to her hair, she mostly uses it as a weapon to subdue her enemies. In the segment titled Aspirations, her hair had actually turned into real poisonous snakes and attacked the girls. But having said that, once her hair, which is the main source of her power, gets shaved, she is absolutely incapable and powerless. The same can be said when her hair gets wet. She just loses her control over it. Well, all one can say is do watch out for Sedusa here, the first female supervillain to be introduced in this series.
And when things get freaky, funky, and nasty, blame it on the
Boogie Man. All it took for this scary monster here is to just appear in one episode, and the job was done. The Boogie Man, as shown in the segment titled Boogie Frights, is a dark blue-skinned monster with long, white, twisted-up demon-like horns. He is more fondly remembered for donning that white disco jumpsuit with matching pants, shoes, and his signature orange sunglasses. This monster of darkness loves to act more like a typical 70s disco dancing guy. He lives underground and comes out only at night. Of course, he hates the sun, and so his only wish is to shroud the world in darkness, so that he can party on land all day and night, torment the kids, and most importantly, never have to fear about hiding from the sun again.
Well, it's the Powerpuff Girls crashing my party.
While boasting the standard skills of a monster, his biggest skill was to control over all the other monsters. This brings us to his associates, all of whom deserve a special mention. There's Jerome, a small green monster wearing a yellow jacket and orange shades. He is more like his right-hand man. Then there are Scissors, the bird-like monster, Maggot, the slime monster, and Cat Monster, the orange-skinned female giant monstrous feline donning leopard print pants and shirt. He is the personification of fear in children, and his character in the series also owns a flying limousine. No wonder he had the Powerpuff Girls under his control, making them fear him, fear the darkness, and his monsters as well. But thanks to the girls for being brave enough to stand up against him, and eventually defeat him by hurling him out into space.
I am Roach Coach. I am sick of you human scum infesting the planet. I am here.
Roach Coach. Imagine a villain who in reality was a highly intelligent, talking cockroach, operating a human-like robot. That's not all. The Roach Coach even had the ability to summon every cockroach in the city, and eventually had plans about taking over Townsville.
And then, together, you and I, Roach Coach, will rule the world!
So he had billions of cockroaches invading the city, attacking the people, crawling over the buildings, cars, and even the food. Quite gross, right? Of course, beating the roaches wasn't a difficult task. The sole fact that the girls were simply disgusted by the sight is what worked in the favor of Roach Coach. This villain, who made his first appearance in the segment entitled Insect Inside, absolutely hated the humans. In fact, he was so sick of them making a mess of his planet that he actually vowed to eradicate the entire human race.
That's right, fly away, scared, you stinking Powerpuffs!
Who would have thought that the girls would initially be devoured by a giant cockroach monster? Full credits to Roach Coach for coming up with the humongous cockroach suit. It was not only eerie, but genuinely terrifying to the audience as well. Well, the character of Roach Coach could have been the only villain to take the Powerpuff Girls down, had he not met his fate of being imprisoned inside a jar, which was inside a prison cell. Unfortunate for him, but a major relief for the Powerpuff Girls.
What'd you say? You want another cookie? All right, here! Oh my!
The Gangreen Gang. Not all villains require superpowers, and who better than a group of troublemaking hoodlums, punks, and thugs to prove that? Yes, we're talking about the 5 green-skinned teenagers: Ace, Snake, Big Billy, Gruber, and Lil Arturo.
Powerpuff Girls? Snake, what are you doing to that poor child?
Ace is the leader of the gang, sporting a rather long, straight, greasy, slick-backed hairdo. He can be exceedingly bullying, mean-spirited, greedy, and opportunistic. Boasting a nasally Italian New Yorker accent, he is the smartest member of the gang, instigating most of their antisocial activities. Let's not miss out on his charismatic charm. After all, he did manage to charm Buttercup at one point, and even manipulated her to an extent where she had briefly turned against her sisters.
You know, kid, you're not so bad. You can hang out with us anytime.
Snake is the gang's second in command, and the closest friend to Ace. He is skinny, has a forked tongue, black lips, and a rather long, sharp-pointed nose. He wears a gangle hat that's usually turned backwards. It would not be wrong to say that his character actually hisses like a real snake.
Hey, kid, watch out! Whoop, sorry! Whoop, sorry! Whoop, sorry!
Big Billy happens to be the largest, heaviest, and also the dumbest of the lot. He loves to eat, and will gobble up more junk than the rest of the gang. As for Gruber, he is literally the gang's most ridiculous-looking member. But don't let his untidy hair, enormous chin, bulging eyes, shabby soiled clothes, and that tongue lolling out fool you. He is a lot smarter than what he looks, and the fact that his character is capable of changing voices gives him an edge over the rest of the gang members. And lastly, Lil Arturo, who is the smallest of the gang, is a malevolent Mexican midget. He usually carries a switchblade-like comb he addresses as his daughter, and even calls her Maria. Also, it is his character that seems to add amusement to the gang's activities.
Oh, ladies, let me be the first to introduce you to my collection permanently.
Lenny Baxter. Meet Lenny Baxter, also known as the comic book geek, who is in every way as human as possible. And like every other human, he has his flaws, and that's more than enough to make him a villain to the girls. We are stressing on his obsession that literally crossed every limit. His fixation on the girls makes him take away everything that's related to them.
Collecting Powerpuff stuff is my life. I've got every piece of merchandise known to man.
Well, he started with Bubbles' drawings and crayons, then moved on to Buttercup's punching meat, Blossom's makeup kit, and also a portrait of the girls with Professor Utonium. Yes, you heard that right, and we know that's crazy, but sadly, he didn't stop at that. Lenny wanted more, so he went to the extent of even taking away the hotline before tricking the girls into coming to help him so that he could box them and have them forever, making the real girls as crown jewels of his collection.
This isn't good.
It goes without saying that his creepy obsession takes on a whole new level, and it proves how one can be human and still turn into the deadliest enemy ever. In this case, clearly it was a grown-up man, being obsessed with a bunch of kindergarten-aged girls, and his role as an obsessed fan, going the extra mile to have everything that belongs to the girls, including themselves, makes him quite terrifying. Of course, the Powerpuff Girls are rescued later by the professor along with the mayor and the citizens of Townsville, and Lenny ends up going to a place where he truly belongs, and there's no other place than prison. The fact that Lenny was actually successful in capturing all the girls proves that he was a lot more than just a crazed fanboy, and a dangerous threat to the all-powerful Powerpuff Girls. Also, many of you may not know this, but this particular segment, titled Collect Her, was actually based on Stephen King's psychological horror thriller novel, Misery. Mr. Mime. After an accidental bleach turns the happy-go-lucky Rainbow the Clown into the malicious Mr. Mime, his evil alter ego not only proceeds to make the whole town of Townsville black and white, but also suck out every kind of sound out of the world, making it a place devoid of color, sound, and ultimately happiness.
Rainbow the Clown has now become Mr. Mime.
Unlike the other villains that the girls had to face, Mr. Mime truly was a challenge. This villain could not be defeated by the power-packed punches and other superpowers that the girls knew quite well. Things took a different turn when Mr. Mime took things to a whole new level, trading not only the colors, but also the movements of both Blossom and Buttercup. It wasn't a pretty sight to see their comatose, colorless bodies lying down. In fact, even Townsville seemed like some creepy old black and white flick. But thanks to Bubbles' presence of mind, she finally manages to bring everyone back to normal, using the power of music, focusing on how true happiness was all about colors. The song, Love Makes the World Go Round, not only restores the happiness and life to the people of Townsville, but also turns the dark, corrupted persona of Rainbow the Clown back to his lively, colorful, and happy personality.
Thank you girls for returning my color and throwing away my frown.
Although Rainbow had no recollection of what happened while Mr. Mime was busy creating chaos, he was ultimately beaten up and eventually thrown in jail, though clearly not for long, as he showed up later at a birthday party for the Powerpuff Girls themselves in the segment entitled Birthday Bash.
And now, my assistant. Time for grand finale!
Lusion. Everyone who had grown up with the series is bound to remember the segment entitled Abracadaver, because it was downright spooky. Back when Lusion was alive, he had quite a charming personality. We are stressing on his magic hat, the outfit with a flower on it, the mustache, goatee, and even the mole on the lower right side of his face. However, in the past, while performing for a crowd, he was proved to be deceptive by a little girl. Being severely sensitive to being mocked at, Lusion tripped and fell into a spiked coffin that instantly killed him. Or did it? Because he eventually rose from the dead years later, powerful hatred for humanity made him do horrifying things by using dark magic. People were turned into objects. Objects were further turned into undead animals. Buildings were changed into a stack of playing cards, which he deliberately toppled by removing one of the cards, and let's not forget where he had large saws cutting up other buildings. His appearance, post becoming a zombie, was equally terrifying. Not only did he have his flesh rotted out, visible jawbone, cranium, and also the nasal bone, even the tips of his finger bones could be seen. His eyes were now red with rage. His mustache had only 3 whiskers on each side, and his goatee was unkempt. His attire was ragged, and the flower on his tuxedo was dead black. In short, he was quite a dreadful sight. Add to that his power of levitating objects, transforming people or things into anything he wanted to, the fact that he was immortal, and he is capable of repairing himself telekinetically. All of this just makes him a badass, dark, sinister villain. Of course, the story took a different turn when he mistook Blossom for the girl who had ruined him.
You ruined Illusion! You make them laugh at me, but now revenge!
And it goes without saying that he wanted her to have the same fate like him. Have her smashed in the spike coffin to take his old revenge. But the only thing that Lusion was susceptible to was being tricked to, and it was a bliss to see Blossom swapping places with him just before she was about to meet her end. Thankfully, the grand finale was saved for Lusion.
That's it! No more! I quit! I never get to sleep and I'm tired of it! Wait!
The Sandman. In the segment titled Dream Scheme, the Sandman, based on the mythological creature of the same name, eventually got so tired of having to travel around the world every night just to put people to sleep that he ended up inventing a giant machine, one that would drop heaps of sand on the eyes of people, putting everyone in the whole world to sleep, and that too forever.
Enjoy the fruit of his pains. Off goes the alarm. Someone remains.
Oh, who's still awake?
Well, this worked for everyone except for the Powerpuff Girls, whom he personally decided to pay a visit. Having shot them with a sleepy dust gun, the Sandman happily went back to his den, thinking he would finally get some sleep. As for the girls, they appeared in the same dream, realized that they could actually travel into other people's dreams. The trio decided to teach the Sandman a lesson that he would remember for the rest of his life. The Sandman, who on the other hand was finally home sleeping and dreaming about running through a beautiful meadow of flowers, got interrupted by the girls. Their versions of dreams showed up in his dream and literally annoyed the hell out of him. So much so that the girls actually chased him around in a psychedelic dream sequence, something that eventually drove the Sandman out of his mind. No points in guessing that he implored them for mercy once the girls woke him up and also vowed to get back to his duty once again, without going to sleep or, in his words, catch a break. As for the character of the Sandman, one can't really blame him. He had his reasons to complain about his job because it was true. He hardly couldn't get a moment's rest.
Get this junk out of here! You will give me your chemical ass!
Dick Hardley. For a human who wore glasses, a white coat, and a pink shirt underneath, chose moccasins for footwear, and even had a blonde ponytail, his monster version was quite ugly. Not only was his skin turned green, he also had 4 tentacles on his chest, and a 5th one that was his ponytail. Ridiculous, right? Furthermore, his glasses are gone, the eyes have turned black, and what's left of his clothes are just his pants. Well, that's Dick Hardley, an old college roommate of Professor Utonium, and although the professor always considered him as a friend, Dick mostly took advantage of him. Dick was a materialistic, self-centered, dishonest, and manipulative businessman who attempted to make more of the Powerpuff Girls so that he could sell them to the people to acquire money and fame. He might have been a one-shot antagonist in the series, but his character has often been regarded as the most evil villain in the whole franchise. During a visit to his old friend's house, upon seeing the girls there, he ended up making his own version, the Powerpuff Girls with Chemical Extreme.
Well, say goodbye to those fears, folks. The Powerpuff Girls Extreme are here.
He never actually loved the clones that he created. Instead, he considered himself to be their master. Also, post-mutating into a giant monster, specifically after swallowing the Chemical X, he ended up being even more merciless than ever. So much so that he actually went to the extent of killing the real Powerpuff Girls, while knowing that they are just small children. This just reflects his sadistic personality and his true vile nature. Also, unlike other villains in the series who have always had on display some sort of morality and humor, Dick's monster version was dead serious. He hardly ever shows even the slightest bit of morality, not to the girls, Professor Utonium, not even to his own creations. No wonder it was his greed and deficiency of love that caused his downfall. Also, the fact that his clones were so disgusted by his actions that they turned against their very own creator and used their powers to destroy him, much to Dick's horror. Well, serves him absolutely right.
Can I have your attention? I'd like you all to give a nice, warm welcome to our new friend, Princess Morbucks.
Princess Morbucks. Rich, spoiled little girls can be a literal pain, and who better than this recurring antagonist to prove that right? Well, she is the daughter of Mr. Morbucks, dwelling in a colossal manor on the very outskirts of Townsville, and it goes without saying that she literally has access to anything and everything that she wants. Apart from being egotistical, stubborn, materialistic, dictating, and, let's not forget, cruel, she is also someone susceptible to rather violent temper tantrums, especially when she wants to have something. But when Princess Morbucks cannot buy her way into becoming a Powerpuff Girl, well, for starters, she does not really have any superpowers to, say, fight crime. She simply decides that there shouldn't be any Powerpuff Girls at all.
Well, if I can't be a Powerpuff Girl, then there won't be any Powerpuff Girls!
This little villain tries her best to mimic every look of the trio. When she realizes she can't fly, like the girls, she literally utilizes a jetpack. Her super suit is yellow in color. It increases her strength and speed, way more than the girls, in fact. Her suit can also deflect laser beams and send supersonic screamings backwards. Princess Morbucks simply makes use of her money and power to create all sorts of cool gadgets, such as boomerang tiaras, energy-blasting vehicles, enormous robotic weaponry, and a lot of exciting weapons. No wonder she is one of the 4 major enemies of the girls, who happen to be children. Dooks of Doom. This motorcycle gang of evil, grotesque, cannibalistic monsters made their appearance in the segment entitled Girls Gone Mild. Their main goal is to destroy everything in their paths, and that involves eating cars, houses, and even humans. Wherever they go, the exhaust fumes from their motorcycles tend to leave a long trail of disorder and death. It goes without saying that they end up causing way more chaos in Townsville. They're mostly feared by everyone. Their gang consists of 3 members. There's Golgor, who is the leader of the gang. He looks like a giant green ogre-like monster, one who drives a tank around the town, and mostly makes use of his tank to fire bombs at things and also people. Then there's Hogguar, who is the lancer of the gang. He looks more like a big, ghoulish pig kind of creature. He's pink in color and drives a low-riding motorcycle. And then there's Whizzer, the butt monkey of the gang. He is a small, furry weasel who drives on a little moped and is mostly used as a human throw hammer by the other gang members. Despite the gang's limited intelligence, they are feared by most of the people, even the girls for that matter, and easily make it to the list of the hilariously dark and sinister villains of the Powerpuff Girls. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to send a like and subscribe to our channel, if you haven't already. For marvelous videos, I'm Rylan. Have a good one, and be safe.
Once again, the day is saved, thanks to the Powerpuff Girls.